So sustainability, environmental, awareness, pretty boring. All the things on the list of topics not to do, pollution, air pollution, recycling, they're just really general topics that are usually quite boring. People repeat them. They're not that, interesting. And I'm here today to try and change that, kind of. So a lot of the talk around sustainability and environmentalism and all that kind of stuff is really politicized nowadays. So people, put themselves on either side of the team, and they fight it out, and it's nothing to do with real sustainability. The definition of sustainability here that I have up is sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And this was actually set by the UN in 2005, the World Commission on Environmental Development. They set this definition, and it's been the definition since. So, sustainable development is defined by the 3 E's, the first being economic, the second being environmental, and the third being social, and social stands for social equity, and so that's the 3 E's for you. They call it equity and not really social, but it makes no sense if you say equity, so I just call it social. So I have kind of culminated a theory over some time of why we can't reach sustainable development and why environmentalism isn't working. Those 3 E's in that Venn diagram that you just saw, where they all meet is where sustainable development happens, right? So with time, we have generations from the baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, and now what they call post-millennials. Generation Y would be us, kind of, and then the people after us would be post-millennials, those born after the 2000s. Those dates obviously were set by specific people. Just to make sure that I get all the facts right, this was actually these dates were set by Dimock in Defining Generations. They're from the Pew Research Organization, and so they set these dates. Every research organization kind of pushes and pulls on these years, but these are on average what they are. So the theory is that after some research that I looked up, especially from, if I can make this clear here, Engelhardt, right? Okay, especially from Engelhardt, they did surveys. So these surveys ranged from people, they surveyed high school students all the way back from 1971 all the way up to now, and they surveyed them and gave them specific survey questions. So one of the survey questions was, is being wealthy important? And so you can tell by the results that boomers saw wealth as less important than Generation Ys by a huge margin. And so, in my opinion, this is why economy is growing as a bubble. And then another question that they asked was, develop a meaningful philosophy of life. How important is that to you as a person? And these are the answers they got. Boomers, 73%, Generation Ys, 43%. A third question that they asked is becoming involved in programs to clean the environment, and these were both low, but still lower in the Generation Ys and the boomers. And so overall, you can see that this is what it looks like nowadays. Our world right now looks very huge on the economy because that's what most people are invested in. The social is also quite large, and the environment is very minimal because that's the least important. And you can see where sustainability ends up, way in the middle, way far away. And so, to solve an issue like this, sustainable development, we have to focus on the 3 E's. And so just a personal story about how to go about a problem, any problem, and solve it using the 3 E's. So I had a commission, or not a commission, my uncle commissioned somebody to build a mosque. And it's a small mosque, But because it's a small mosque, these costs build up, and these are in Qatari riyals, where I come from. And so this is 100,000 Qatari riyals, the equivalent of about $33,000 to build this structure. And so that's without thinking of any of the sustainable development, not thinking of, environment, economy. This is just purely economy. This is money, right? So I went about and tried to take this commission and told my uncle that I can do this sustainably, but make it a lot more socially equitable, make it a lot more economically friendly, and also make it environmentally friendly. And so, but by reusing shipping containers, two 20-foot shipping containers, and then reusing all the steel shelving inside those shipping containers that were used as storage, and then building out the windows and the doors using scrap windows and doors from buildings that were torn down, and then outfitting the inside and the outside. And that was a final photo of what the inside looked like after all that work. And some installation. The total cost for that whole project ended up at $40,000. And $40,000 is the equivalent of around $11,000. So you can see that knocked down the cost a third. So that's very helpful in the economy. But now we said that this was sustainable, so it has to check two other boxes. The two other boxes that it has to check is social equity and economy, which it checked, and then someone remind me?
Environment.
All right, there we go. Environmental, right? That's a recycler. So. We recycled the shipping containers. That was the environmental aspect. We tried to reuse as much as possible. About 80% of the materials in this structure or in this project were reused. And then the social equity is because this is a building of social significance. A mosque is basically the same as a church for Christians. Mosque is the same, the equivalent for Muslims. So it's a very important socially building. And then the economy obviously knocked down from 100 to 40,000. So I just wanted to present this problem of the politicizing of sustainability and environmental, and to tell people that if you want to go ahead and do something that, whatever you're gonna do in life, you might want to think of the 3 E's up before you go ahead and do something. And then you can probably end up with a good result for that meets all your criteria and at the same time is sustainable. So just a few statistics for those who are interested. So according to Statista, they asked a question about how important is sustainability when you choose clothes. Just a general question. And almost 66% of people said it was partly important or really important when they chose clothes, something really random, right? And then reasons consumers consider sustainability when making food purchases. A lot of them pick things like protecting the resources of the world, specifically 43%. So when you look at those things, it's almost compromises. Environmentalism and being sustainable is almost always marketed as a compromise. It's never a compromise if you think of the 3 E's and make a sustainable development project. That way you can hit all 3, of the major sectors, make it sustainable. It's not a compromise for yourself, nor is it a compromise for the world and the people around you.